Hi, I am Olympia LePoint, host of Answers Unleashed, seen on answersunleashed.com. Congratulations! You are at a moment in time where you get a chance to rewrite history. I am Olympia LePoint. Now, you more than likely have seen me on a variety of different shows and you've seen my TED Talk, but I'm extremely excited to speak with you today here at the Empowering Girls for Life conference. You see, I am a rocket scientist and an author, but I didn't always know that's what I wanted to do. In fact, I went through a lot in my life to get to this point. And if I had someone like myself to come back and share the tips to change the world and transform my life, I would have taken it in a heartbeat. But I didn't. But today, you have the opportunity to learn the 6 key decisions to change your life and change this world. And it starts with you. It's funny. People know that I helped launch 28 missions into space. 28 space shuttle missions into space, and it was an amazing opportunity. But people don't know, I failed mathematics, I failed specifically algebra, I failed chemistry, I failed geometry, I failed calculus, and I had to take these classes over, and I recognized that when I was thinking in a way that was going to transform my life and not in a way of fear, that's when I was able to do great things in my life. And specifically, there's a way for you to think in such a profound way, in such a miraculous way, that you will change this world by your decisions alone. Now, you may be wondering what this is. How can this be? What can you do today to change the rest of your life? Well, I hope you have a pen and paper because this is going to be exciting. And I hope you're going to be taking notes because what I'm going to share with you, what you're going to learn are the 6 key decisions to change this world and change your life in the process. And this is what I learned. I personally learned these steps. And that's how I became a rocket scientist. And no matter what you're experiencing, no matter what you're seeing in the news, now this is 2020, you may be seeing it this year, or you may be seeing this video 10 years from now. Whether you're experiencing pandemics, a really bad life at home, whether you're failing grades, or you're not feeling up to what you feel like you could be doing, this talk is for you. These decisions are for you. And they help transform my life. So, are you ready? Step 1, here's the first decision. You have to decide that your life has purpose and you're on this earth for a powerful reason. I'll share with you a story. I was 6 years old and I went to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, and there was a field trip. It was amazing. We saw these rockets, we saw these jet engines, and we went to their mission control room and I saw pictures of these men launching rockets. And I thought to myself, I want to be just like those men I see on the wall. Now, I didn't recognize that I am a woman and I am a woman of color. And I didn't understand the type of challenges I was going to be facing because people didn't have the same thinking that I had, which was of innovation and of great things. So I went through a ton of issues. Now, if you follow me, if you watched any of my videos on my website, answersunleashed.com, or you see my TED Talk or read my articles, you know that I was not raised in the best place. I was raised near South Central Los Angeles, on a borderline of that, and it was poverty, and we didn't have food to eat, and it was really tough, extremely tough going through that situation. And I was even in 5th grade, I was in a disagreement with this guy, and in my TED Talk, I talk about how my face was sliced open and I almost nearly lost my eye. And it was very tough. But that moment, that moment of when I was 6 years old and I went to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and I saw those rockets, told me I had a purpose. I had a reason for being alive. And it was up to me to live every single day, no matter how tough it was going to be, to live every single day to find out the reasons why I was here on earth. So you have that ability too. You see, I'm speaking directly to you. You are here on this earth for a very powerful reason. No one can do what you are planning to do. And it's up to you to find out what your talents are, what your gifts are, and what you can do and what you're passionate about. Because when you find out what you're passionate about, whether it is writing, whether it's science like myself, whether it is helping people, whether it is being the next president, you see, you have the ability to bring forth change in this world, but it's only if you believe that you are on earth for a powerful reason. You have to know that and decide that your life is worth living and you are here for a powerful reason. And every single day that you're alive, you're going to find out why. The second decision. The second decision is very powerful. And it's probably the hardest decision to actually do. And here's what it is. You have to decide your character and who you will choose to be. If you follow history and you know anything about history, you know Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a reverend, and he was a person who was able to help people see everyone as who they are and as people. Didn't matter if they were white, it didn't matter if they were black, it didn't matter if they were poor, it didn't matter if they were disabled. He introduced to the world that everyone is created equally because they are people of character. And it is your actions and your decisions and what you choose to do in life that will define your future. You see, you must be the change in the world that you wish to see first. So how do you do that? Not for me. I was so scared about math. Can you get that? I'm a rocket scientist and I failed all these math classes. I was so scared about mathematics. I didn't understand that I had a choice. Who was I going to be? Was I going to be a person who was going to be scared and fail my courses and think that I wasn't going to be able to do it? Or was I going to be someone who was going to be courageous and still try? And even though I maybe wouldn't understand it completely when I first tried, I was still going to be able to do it. When I recognized I had a choice, I could choose who I wanted to be. Was I going to be scared or was I going to be courageous? Was I going to not be honest or was I going to be upfront with integrity? You see, you have a choice in every single thing that you do. You have a choice to become the person in which you want to be. No one else's job is that. The way that you change this world is by being who you always wanted to become. For me, I wanted to become somebody who could solve problems. I wanted to be someone who could be known as someone who could launch rockets eventually. That meant that I was going to try. And even though it meant that I was going to fail, and I failed calculus, I was still going to get up, get back in that seat and learn to do it again. And as I did it over and over and over again, I became good at it. Then I became faster than everyone else when they came to understanding and solving the math. And then I realized I had another decision in front of me. This is the third decision. What was going to be my intent? This is your third decision. What's your intent? Now, let me describe what intent is. Intent is the ability to walk into any room and have a mission and purpose, and you know that no matter what, you're going to fulfill it. It's an intent. Every single situation that you're in, every day that you're alive, you have an intent, meaning you have a purpose. You have to put that intent in your head and walk towards that intent, because it's when you step into a room, it's when you walk into an area, whether it be school, whether it be a career, no matter where you go, your intent changes the world. Your decision to change the environment wherever you step gives you the power to create change. For me, I ended up graduating top 5 out of California State University Northridge with degrees in mathematics out of a 6,500 graduating class. And this was a big accomplishment because I failed math over and over again, but I remember I stuck to it and I kept trying. And I remember one time specifically, I walked into this classroom and it was my sophomore year of college. And I walked into this room and I looked around and there were all guys in the room. And this was an advanced math class. And I remember going into this room and looking around, and I remember thinking to myself, I wonder if I'm in the right room. I don't see any other ladies. And then at the same time, a couple of guys that were there, they looked and they said, I think you have the wrong room. This is a room for advanced calculus. I think you should be going to another class. I don't think this is your right room. And then I looked at my schedule, and I looked up at them, and I looked at my schedule. And on my schedule it was advanced calculus. I was in the right place. And I remember looking at this, and I remember looking at them, and I looked right into their eyes. I mean, right into their eyes. And I said, I am in the right room. This is calculus, right? They looked shocked. They went, they looked at each other. I was the only woman in the room. And I was the only woman in the class. And I ended up doing very well in the class and exceeding my expectations because I wanted to show that women could understand information too. I wasn't in the wrong class. If anything, I was in the right place. My intent at that moment in time was to change the environment for the men in the class to see that women could understand science, technology, engineering, and mathematics just as well and even faster. And I did it. You see, there will be many situations where you're placed into a role of leadership. And I know I'm not just talking to the 5,000 young ladies that are watching this. I'm talking to the parents too. You see, there will be times in your future where you'll be placed in leadership, and there will be people second guessing your strength, your knowledge, and your intelligence simply because you are a woman. But that's okay. You have to choose your purpose and intent in that situation. At the end of the day, what are you going to do? You see, you have the ability to change the way that people think the moment that you step into the room, and you do this by what you do in that room. You do that through everything that you choose to do. So for me, my intent was I was going to show that women and men could be equally smart in science. Now that brings us to the next decision. Now, if you've been keeping track, you've been knowing the decisions. The first decision is you have to decide that you have a life purpose. The first decision is deciding you have a life purpose. The second decision, do you remember what it was? Defining who you are. What's your identity? The third is defining your intent. The fourth is deciding to learn things that you don't know. Now, I'm going to be real with you. This is 2020. And you more than likely going to be seeing this in 2020, 2021. You'll be even watching this video 10 years from now in 2030. Mark my words. And this message is always going to ring true for you. In 2020, we're experiencing a lot of things. We're experiencing pandemics. People are dying at unprecedented rates because there is a deadly virus. We are seeing different clashes, political, socio-economical. You're seeing all these people in the news, and you're seeing all these people upset, and you're seeing all this rage, and you are more than likely wishing, I wish it would stop, I wish it would stop. How it stops is with you educating yourself. Now, let me describe that a little bit more so you really, really know this. The point of an education, the point specifically, let me break this down for you in such a profound way. The point of an education is to earn your bachelor's and master's degree. Everyone who is watching this video, I challenge you. I challenge you to earn your bachelor's and master's degree at an accredited 4-year university. You see, when you do that, you're able to relearn. And not only that, you're able to decipher what is true versus what's fiction. Like, for example, I remember hearing on the news, or no, it wasn't even on the news, it was on some sort of like fake internet site, that children didn't get COVID-19. When science shows that anyone can get COVID-19 virus, and anyone is to make sure that they're going to be safe. Now, as a scientist, as a person who's learned to research things, I could tell when news articles were accurate versus when they were not. At the same token, I can tell when people were not telling the truth on the news or in speeches and when people were. It's because when you're educating yourself, when you choose to educate yourself, you're able to go through information and know what's real, know how the information affects you and other people. When you have knowledge about your life, about other people's lives, and you learn the facts, and when you learn the truth, you're able to make decisions that not only help you, but help all these other people that need your help too. And the only way you do that is by educating yourself. Now, you're young, and that is great. You have the ability to educate yourself. Even if you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s watching this, you still have an ability to educate yourself. The reason why is that your brain continuously reshapes throughout your entire life. It doesn't stop. Every day that you breathe, your brain is reshaping, it's rewiring itself, it's recalibrating itself so you find answers. And that's what I write about in my book, Answers Unleashed. You always find answers in your life, no matter what you go through. But it's only if you're willing to learn. So you've got to make a decision. You've got to decide to learn. Keep learning. Keep learning. That is the way you move forward. And that is the way you always find opportunities for yourself. All right, I hope you're following, because I'm giving you some like juicy decisions. These decisions are going to change your life. Now, this next one, are you ready for this? This next decision is going to help you financially. This decision is, you must decide to multiply your resources. You must decide to multiply your resources. You have to decide that no matter what you experience, no matter how little money that you have, no matter the itty tiny talent that you have to multiply it so it becomes big. It's possible, it's doable. I love this story. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm a spiritual person. And it's a story from the Bible. And the story is that Jesus Christ came through this big town of 5,000 people, and there wasn't enough food for these people to eat. And the story goes like this. Jesus Christ, through this story, goes to the people, and he sees all these people, and there's this young boy. There's like, I think he was 6 years old. I'm not quite sure if he's 6. I'm not a biblical historian, but this is how I remember the story. He was 6 years old, and he went to Jesus and said, I have this loaf of bread and I have this fish. Here, take this and feed the people. His faith in using the a little bit of resources that he had was given to help other people. And so the story goes is that Jesus Christ looked at this, and then he put it into this basket, and then he gave the basket to his helpers, his disciples, and he said, feed the people with this. And the story goes, whether or not you believe it's true or believe it's not, this is a really cool story regardless. It's a fact is that the story goes that when they went inside and they took all these fish and bread out of the basket and started handling it, and it fed all 5,000 people. The point of the story is this: whatever you have, you always can multiply it. When I first started my business, now if you don't know, I have a book publishing company. Let me show you. I wrote the books Answers Unleashed and Mathophobia. And it was not easy starting off. In fact, I was in rocket science for probably like 10 years before I left the company and decided to branch off and start my own company. But I didn't have any money then. I was just living off of the bare essentials. And there was a economic downturn, 2007, 2008, the economy crashed, nobody was hiring. I couldn't even go back into aerospace even if I wanted to. And I had $1,000, and I was like thinking to myself, what can I do? And the fact is that you can take this money. That's what I told myself. You can take this money, you can create something that will help people. So that's what I did. I wrote my first book, Mathophobia. I took a Word document, just started writing everything I learned on how to retrain my thinking so I was going to overcome fear when it came to studying math and science. And I decided, why not just share it with people so they understood? And that led me to going on NBC. It led me to giving a TED Talk. It led me to being on PBS. And it led me to you. You see, when you just take the simple things that you have at your disposal, doesn't matter what it is, but when you have that intent in your head that you're going to change situations with the little bit of resources that you have, it multiplies. And this applies to everyone. Every single person can take the resources and multiply it. It doesn't matter if you're out of work. It doesn't matter if you're trying to find or put food on your table. The fact is, when you literally sit down and you think about how you can contribute to solving a problem that the world needs, it's almost like the universe opens up these doors and pours resources through opportunities for you. But you have to be willing to take these opportunities and run with them. No one's going to do that for you. No one's going to sit down and study for you. No one's going to make sure and balance your checkbook for you. No one's going to make sure that you apply for work if you're just graduated from college. No one's going to do that except you. When you recognize that you have the talent, you have the ability, and you have what it takes, that, my friend, opens up doors for you that no one can shut. So here's the last decision. I hope you've been taking notes, because I am sharing some information with you so you will always remember how to change your life. All right, the last decision, and it's this. You must love yourself through the thick and thin. You must decide that no matter what you go through and what you have been through and what you will go through, you will still be committed to yourself, you'll love yourself as you go through it. You see, I didn't have the easiest life. I had a really tough life. We grew up in poverty. I was sexually abused when I was younger. I was failing my math classes. I was in a fight in my 5th grade classroom, and I almost lost my eye. I had a tough life. And when I learned that it's not what I've gone through that defines me. It's my decisions as I go through it. Whatever you have gone through in your life, whatever tough things you're going through now, whatever tough things you will go through, the fact is you have a future you that is coming to you right now, and it's telling you, you can get through this. No matter what, remember, I am here for you. I love you no matter what. You see, how old am I now? I am 43. I'm about to be 44 years old. And what I do is I go back to myself when I was 6 years old. And I tell myself, you see those rockets? You could do that. You can build them. You can explain them. You can get on TV and talk about them. And I'm going to help you do it. Just stay in school. Follow me. Realize that your decisions are important. And you will get to that point. I love you no matter what. When I go back to myself and I tell myself that, it gives me the power to change the world. Take these 6 decisions. Remember them. Use them. Always know and decide that you're living and you have a purpose to your life. 2, always know who you want to become and make that decision to be that person who is courageous no matter what tough things you go through. 3, remember that you have intent and you have a reason for every single place that you step, and it's your job to transform situations. Next, realize it's your job to learn no matter how old you are. You must know the truth so you make decisions that are powerful. And next, you must always know that whatever you have what it takes to make something big. And lastly, love yourself. You can love yourself better than anyone on the face of this planet, because your future you is counting on your success. I am Olympia LePoint, and I hope you will always take these decisions and run with them and change your life and change the world. Now, I know a lot of you have questions. And I'm going to read some of our questions that we have. Do we have them? Oh, here we go. They're here. All right, I'm going to look at some of our questions. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm going to be looking kind of close. So the first question is how did you overcome some of the hardships you experienced as a child? Ooh, how did you overcome some of the hardships that you experienced as a child? Okay. Woo! That's a great question. Thank you for asking that question. I overcame some of the tough hardships as a child by keeping in my mind the vision of where saw myself in the future. As long as I kept that in my head, like I was going to be on TV, I was going to be able to help people understand science, and I was going to make a difference. As long as I kept that in my head, it powered me. It kept my brain rewiring itself. So I want you to go back to how your earliest memory of when you're 6 to 8 years old, when you really, really was excited about doing something. I want you to remember that moment. Now, each of you have that moment. It doesn't matter your age right now. You have a time in your life where you were so excited about something that you wanted to do it. Go back to that moment in time. That is what powers you through every single decision. For me, I knew I could create big things. I could explode great things. That was my purpose, my niche, my power. You have a power too. What helped me get through all these tough situations is thinking ahead. How could I think forward so my decisions were going to get me to where I wanted to go? When you have that in your head of how's this decision going to get me to where I want to go? When you have that decision in your head, that gives you the power to overcome anything in which you have experienced growing up, or what you're experiencing right now, or what you will experience in the future. Thank you so much for that question. Let's take a look at the next question. This one is, what advice can you give young girls, what was that, who struggle in the classroom or have math anxiety? Oh my gosh. I can write a book about that. I did. My book, Mathophobia, has the information. Okay. The advice I give is this. You must, no matter what, recognize that men and women think differently. You, as a girl and a woman, think actually a little bit faster, actually. I mean, I don't mean to sound terrible about it, but it's true. Let me break this down. Men typically, not all men, so some men, majority of men, actually think very linear. They use the left side of their brain. And the left side of the brain is very logical. That side of the brain controls the steps and procedures and the strategies. Anyone really good at algebra is really good with the left side of the brain. But there's the right side of the brain, that's just geometry. That's the artistic side. And that's actually the part of communication. Now, women, for the most part, use a little bit more of their left and right side of their brain together at the same time, more often than men do. And this is according to scientific studies. So when you're in a math class, you have to recognize the way that you are going to succeed is by speaking up, raising your hand, and communicating what you're trying to understand. That's your gift. Your gift is communication. And that's what I learned when I was in rocket science. As long as I could understand what was happening with the rocket, I could explain it to executives and I could explain it to other people so they could make important decisions. My gift was not only understanding the technical information, but it was also explaining it so people could know how to invest the resources so we could save astronauts' lives. Your job is the exact same, but it's also in the classroom. You have to speak up, communicate yourself. When you don't understand something, whether it be through Zoom or whether it be through email or whether it be class in person, however you learn, speak up, ask questions. The people who speak up and ask questions and communicate themselves say, I'd like to know this. I'd like to understand this better. I'd like to know. They are the people whose needs are met. And if you're trying to understand mathematics and science, that is the way to do it. You have to speak up and you have to use your gift. You can communicate. You can communicate such complex things, and what's in your head, you can communicate it to other people, and you can communicate what is in other people's heads to other people, and that is your gift. All right. You guys have such great questions. Let's see what the next question is. Let's see. The next question is, what was my favorite part of working at NASA? All right. My favorite part of working at NASA. Let's see. Well, it was interesting. I worked for the Space Shuttle main engine program, and it was the program where we built these rockets for NASA. And it was the Space Shuttle main engine program, and I was a mathematician when I first started off, and I didn't actually have much information about rockets. I actually learned rockets while I was working there. I understood all the mathematical calculations I needed to understand how it was applied. So I learned about heat dynamics and structural dynamics. I learned about ISP, which is the type of horsepower the engine has. I learned about weight balance, which is how the engine goes into outer space and how it needs to rotate and keep its weight in a certain position so it doesn't tumble within flight. I learned about so many different things on the job. I learned about even manufacturing the vehicle. And there was one in time where I learned so much information and I knew more than a lot of people. I was given the opportunity to sign the engine test. So I signed off on the science of the engine test, meaning I had to make sure that all the engines and all the parts of the engines were safe, and that when they tested it, nobody was going to die. I mean, that sounds like crazy, but I mean, that's the truth. And it was a profound experience, and it was very stressful. Anytime I would sign those documents, I would be like praying at night. I'm like, please keep everyone safe. And fortunately, everyone was safe on my watch, which was great. But the point in time I absolutely loved was when I was sitting in our ROSC. It was the Rocketdyne Operations Support Center, and it was where we supported mission control. And my seat now is an exhibit at the California Science Center in Los Angeles, California. And this particular seat, I sat in for 12 hours straight, and I would watch numbers roll across the screen. And it was my job to verify that we had all the numbers correct. It was my job to indicate if we had any type of problem, to identify what it was, find out the solution, and fix it within a 5-second period. Otherwise, we had to cut off the engine and scrub the launch. And that was to save the astronauts' lives. My role was to calculate the probability of catastrophic explosions within flight. And my job, I took seriously. And as I sat supporting mission control, I remember thinking to myself, this is the best experience I have ever had. Knowing that I could save astronauts' lives, knowing that I was here, a part of launching great things to space, I could help secure science so it would live for thousands and thousands of more years with people understanding and learning it. That was the most amazing time I had as a scientist. Thank you so much for that question. Oh my God, thank you so much. All right, let's see if we have more questions. I think we have another question. This is the last question, it looks like. What gave you the inspiration to write your book? What gave me the inspiration to write my book? Okay, now, Mathophobia, this book. I wrote Mathophobia because there's 4 types of people when they study mathematics. And I have an online system where you can take homeschool lessons. That's like a supplemental education class. If you go to mathophobia.com/membership, you're able to watch all these math videos and learn about this. You're even able to take the complimentary test, the Mathophobia test, that tells you what you are, whether you are, there's 4 types of Mathophobia characters. You could be Quincy the quitter who quits before he even tries. You can be Donna the overdoer who does and still fails and still misses the mark. You could be a Samuel the struggler, who is someone who is like a brilliant genius, but he can't get his ideas out to the next person, so people think he's dumb. And then there's there's a fourth person who is Crystal the criticizer. She's someone who criticizes everybody because she can't get it right. And it was amazing because I realized that when I was tutoring people in mathematics, that was my first job when I went to college, when I was tutoring people in mathematics. And then when I started overcoming my own math fear, I recognized that I was each one of those people. So I was Quincy the quitter. I was scared to open up my book. I was Samuel the struggler. When I couldn't see the board and didn't have my eyeglasses on. Crystal the criticizer was who I was in graduate school. And these are type of characters that we have when we're scared to solve problems. And it doesn't matter if it's math, it could be anything. It could be, I don't know, you're scared to do your taxes. It can be anything. So I decided to write this particular book to help people not only ace math, but solve problems in everyday life. And for me, writing the book was healing because it gave me a chance to reprogram my own brain. Like there was things in my life that I was like not doing. Like I didn't necessarily, I was scared about starting my business, and I was scared about getting out there and promoting it. And I was like Quincy the quitter. I would go out there a little bit and then I kind of like shake and I'd be like, oh, I'm not like a really strong business owner like someone else. But the truth is that I had to overcome that thinking. And the way that we do that is through 3 steps. We do that by identifying what the fear is. Which type of person are we? Quincy the quitter, Donna the overdoer, Samuel the struggler, or Crystal the criticizer. And then we do that by changing and reprogramming our thoughts. Whatever thought you have to go back in time to wherever that thought was introduced, and you have to then recode your brain with the thought that you want. You have to literally take it out, forgive whoever it was or whatever the situation was that introduced it. And you have to program your brain, because you can program your brain with a new thought, so you're able to create new opportunities for yourself. And then lastly, you have to go and do it. And that's the only way you get a chance to reprogram and rewire your brain. There's no other way to do that. When you rewire your brain, you create opportunities for yourself, and you're able to keep going and solve problems over and over and over and over and over again. So I talk about that on mathophobia.com, where you can take your self-assessment test. And if you're wanting to look at math videos on how to just do some of the basic stuff, I encourage you to check out mathophobia.com/membership, where there's like the video subscription website that I created for people to really truly understand their thinking when it comes to math and science. And my book, Answers Unleashed, this book, Answers Unleashed over here, I wrote this book because I needed to reprogram deep-rooted, just terrible things that I went through. And I had to use all the chaos, all the horrible things that I went through. And I realized that I had the power to rewire my brain with it. And that was the most amazing thing. I went through terrible stuff, but it's when I learned that that was given to me as a gift. Because I'm going to say this so you always remember this, when you go through a very tough time, that's given to you, and it is a blessing. And the reason why I say that is because when you go through tough experiences, it introduces an energy. In my book, Answers Unleashed, I talk about it's a chaotic energy that is given to you. So you are able to use the energy and literally rewire your brain from the inside out with the energy of the chaos, so you structure your life and create the opportunities in your life through decisions. That, my friend, is how you do it. It doesn't matter what you go through. And if you've gone through really tough things, congratulations, you're going to be a great leader because you are given the opportunity and the energy from those tough situations, the power through those tough situations to change your thinking and rewire it so you find answers and your answers will be unleashed. So when I did that for myself and when I did that in my life, that created answers. And those answers I wanted to unleash. And this is the reason why I wrote that book. I wrote that book so you can get it in your hands. Now, I must warn you, when you read the book, it's like drinking 5 shots of espresso when you first read it, because it's powerful stories. It will keep you up thinking about it. It's real life people stories, including mine. And the reason why that book is there, because it allows you to take the energy from the stories in which you're reading to powerfully transform your thinking from the inside out so you find answers. And so the great news is that I created a membership, video subscription membership to Answers Unleashed page. If you go to answersunleashed.com/membership, you'll see that there are videos there for you to watch. Everything from talking to your future self, understanding what chaos is, to understanding how to remove implicit bias with innovative thinking found in science and mathematics. Your brain will be like exploding with answers. So I encourage you to check that out. And parents, if you're watching this, I encourage you to check this out. So for the thousands of people watching this video, I always want you to remember this. You can change your life. And the way you change your life is through your decisions. I am Olympia LePoint. Find me on answersunleashed.com. And if you want to become great at math, find me on mathophobia.com. And I am here to help you use all the things that you go through to find the answers in front of you. I am Olympia LePoint.